Hello, everybody. I'd like to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, the Transgender Center of the Rockies, a program of Mile High Behavioral Healthcare. They are this season's Authenticity Ambassador, and we thank them for their support. I would also like to thank Aspen Winds on Fall River in Estes Park for being this episode's sponsor. Thank you so much for your support. Check them out at aspenwinds.com. Welcome to Being You, an SPH Productions presentation. My name is Shane Hodges, licensed professional counselor and author of It's Time to Be You, How to Become Your Most Authentic Self. My guest today is Kitt Shapiro, fashionista, entrepreneur, and author. Thank you so much for being here, Kitt. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. Well, I like to start off with a rapid fire Q&A. We're going to get about 60 seconds and see how many of these questions you can get through.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready.
Coolest famous person you've met?
Colin Powell.
Who was your idol as a kid?
I don't remember her name, but she was president of Paramount Pictures.
Oh, nice. Favorite fashion designer?
Chanel.
Best LA eatery?
I love Earth Cafe.
Okay. How many pets do you have?
One.
Favorite music to dance to?
Country music.
All right. A movie you love to rewatch?
Emperor's New Groove.
Nice. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Yes.
Do you like playing games?
Yes.
A movie character you'd like to be?
I'd like to be any character that Katharine Hepburn played.
Ooh, nice. All right. That was right at a minute, and I think we got through about 11, so nicely done. All right. Let's get to know a little bit more about what you do. Now, you have quite a varied resume. If my research is correct, a modeling career, you studied interior design, you worked in fashion, you were the VP of your mother's production company for 20 years, which earned you a Grammy nomination, and we haven't even gotten to what you currently do. Is all of that correct, first of all?
That is all very correct, yes.
All right. So if I'm understanding then, at the age of 57, you purchased your favorite boutique, West.
Yes.
And the tagline I've seen is bringing West Coast style to Westport, because you're in Connecticut now, correct?
That is correct. Yes. We like to say if Chanel and Jimi Hendrix had a daughter, that's what the store would be.
Oh, I love that. And it's a visual too. That's what I love. Well, since then, your boutique has been named Best Boutique. It was 3 years. What led you to make this purchase and turn this into your own?
Well, it depends who you speak to. My husband would say craziness led me to do that. I was a customer, and I truly am one of those people who just love to shop in independent retail stores. I love to find gems. I don't like to see myself coming or going when I'm in fashion. I was a customer of this store, and the woman who opened the store, she was going to move, and she was going to close the store. And I said, you can't close the store. We live in a very small town. There's not a whole lot of places. And so I said, I'll buy the store. And it was one of those moments in your life where it never had occurred to me ever to own a retail store. It was never a dream. I'd never thought of it. But in that moment, I knew I had to do it. I just knew it was my calling. And it's now been 7 years. And we survived COVID, so that says a lot.
I was gonna say, yeah. So you would have purchased it how long before COVID hit?
It was about the year before. It was 2019.
Lord.
Yeah.
Wow. Now you did say your husband would call it craziness. What does he think now that it's been 7 years?
Oh, he still thinks it's crazy. He still thinks it's crazy. But he understands we're members of this town and the neighborhoods. Many small businesses are either owned and or operated by women. And I think that's not a coincidence. I think we reinvent ourselves many times during our lives. I think
Yes.
that we are very good at multitasking. I think that we understand the importance of connecting with other human beings. And I think that if COVID showed us anything, it's that we all want to feel that we are a part of something. We all want to be
Yes.
seen and we all want to connect. And so
Yes.
that to me is the beauty of having a retail store. And
Nice.
I really do love it. And that doesn't mean there aren't days that it's just really, really hard.
Oops.
And being a small independent business is very difficult, but it's so gratifying and so satisfying, not because the business is booming and I'm, making a gabillion dollars, but
Hmm.
because the connection that I make with human beings and seeing them look at themselves and feel good about who they are. We say we make getting dressed fun.
That's cool. You are also the founder of Simply Eartha, a brand that honors your mother. And
Yes.
I noticed that, if I saw correctly, there's a website for that, but also your store sells some of those items. When did you start that?
So that I started a little bit after my mother passed. My mother died on Christmas Day, 2008. Can't believe it's
Oh,
been that many
wow.
years. It's crazy. I'm an only child, and my mother said to me throughout my entire life, she said, who I am and what I have accomplished will live on in perpetuity on film, on music, and all that. But who I am as a human being is for you to then share with the world and to carry on
Mm,
that legacy of that person. So when my mother died, and I was like, well, now what do I do? Your identity. I mean, I'm named after her, right? It's sort of like,
hmm.
who am I? What do I do? And my mother had written, she wrote, she was an avid reader and she loved to write. And she would just write and doodle all the time and just write things that she would coin later on as kiddisms.
Mm.
Some things she made up, some
That's
things she
really
probably
cool.
heard somebody say, but once she said it herself, it was then hers. So I
Uh-huh.
took a lot of her sayings, her kiddisms,
Uh-huh.
and I created with it's a Simply Eartha accessories that say something. So when I look at all of these pieces that I've created, they've taken her words. Some of them are in her own handwriting and some are not. But I look at them as conversation starters for other people to then start to talk to each other because I think
Mm.
my mother would really enjoy that. So
That's
this is
amazing.
her hand-drawn heart. And so I use
I
that
was
a
gonna
lot
say,
in a lot of things that I do because she always signed with this heart anything that she wrote to people. And I
I
know
love
the
that.
heart isn't a unique symbol, but I think it's something that we obviously everybody can relate to. And that's just one
Exactly.
that inclusivity and having people have empathy and
Mhm.
understand. My mother would say, you don't have to love everybody. You don't have to even like everybody, but we all have a right to be here. So they have to
Yeah.
respect that. And it seems so simple, but it obviously is very difficult.
It is, and it's funny. It reminded me when I read about that, it reminded me of one of the words of wisdom that a previous guest shared, Melba Moore. She said, remember that to be human means to be humane. And I thought that aligned with some of your mom's,
My mother did a show with
sentiments.
Melba. She did Timbuktu with
Ah, okay. Very cool.
Melba.
So, what can you tell us about the brand and or what you want carrying your mother's legacy to look like?
Well, I really feel it comes down to understanding and feeling good about ourselves first, cutting ourselves some slack. We're all really hard on ourselves and we're in our heads too much and we overthink all of these things. And
Mm.
life is just goes by fleeting, as we all know. So, first and foremost, I would like us to be able to sit. My mother would say, listen to the sounds of nature as well as the silence.
Mm.
Silence is very uncomfortable sometimes, but
Yep.
that's where things sometimes are the loudest. And I think that there's something about that ability to be in the moment in ourselves that then we can hopefully interact with other people with kindness and empathy, even if it's just a matter of saying thank you, please, and putting a smile on your face. I don't care if it's a fake one or not. But the
Yeah,
person you're passing, it may actually make their day and change their life.
I say that often. I could not agree more. Well, You are the author of the book Eartha and Kitt, A Daughter's Love Story in Black and White. And this is, of course, about you and your mother and your relationship.
Yes.
What was it like creating or putting together and then sharing this story?
Well, there's a couple of pieces about this sharing this. First of all, I have a newfound respect for authors because writing a book is really hard. Really.
Right?
And we all sort of sit down and write things on our computers every now and then, and they're like, oh, I can do this. I'm like, oh my God, delivering 80,000 words is very, very difficult. And I'm really,
Yes.
really sarcastic, and it is hard to write sarcasm without sounding like an asshole. I got to tell you.
Truth.
So I would
Absolutely.
often say to my editor, can't we just put an emoji there or something? So that was first and foremost, it was just really difficult. It was also right during COVID. So we would work in the store with masks. I'd come home. I would then sit down and start writing till midnight and then put it down. And it was hard, not because the subject matter, because the stories I tell in the book about my life with my mother, I know like the back of my hand, but it was just really hard to not be repetitive. It's a lot of chapters. It's hard not to repeat yourself.
Right.
And it's hard to then question when you're writing about maybe a third person or somebody else, because you realize once you finish this book, it goes out there. That's it. You can't,
Yeah.
even if at some point else you go back and you write an addendum, it doesn't matter. No one's remembering that.
Right. Right.
So I
It's out
found that
there.
to be very hard. And there were lots of tears because there were many times I just like, why did I say I would do this? I can't believe I'm gonna do this. And my kids and my
Wow.
husband would say to me, Mom, if you don't finish, are you going to be upset? Are you going to be disappointed in yourself? And I said, yes. Then they would say, then put on your big girl panties and just do it. And so there we have it. That's what we
Nice.
did. And I have to say, the book is about a relationship between a mother and a daughter, and the mother happens to be famous. But it's really about relationships in general. And I think what I love the most about it is that if you have the relationship, if you're blessed enough to have a relationship with your mother, like I did, or you have, it doesn't even have to be a mother, it could be a mother figure or
Mhm.
somebody else, or maybe you yearned to have a relationship like I did. I think that's the piece that I think people can really lean into and
Yeah.
understand, because it's really not about my saying, we did this with this famous person and we traveled this way. It's really more about very fundamental teachings and lessons that my mother felt were really, really important
Mhm.
to be a human being.
Yes. Yes. Well, what, if anything, did you take away from writing the book once it was all said and done?
That I won't write another one. Um, You know what I took away from it? I took away that I was very proud of myself for actually finishing it and getting
Nice.
through it, and that it felt really satisfying to be able to thank people in print. There were people in my family, my husband in particular, who I don't often say nice things about or thank in real life because I'm usually complaining or yelling about something. But it was just really, it just felt really cathartic to be very, very honest. And then to have other people read that and to say, wow, that's really, really cool that there's that connection. I also love the feedback. A book is beautiful because it doesn't go out of style. People read it and they can just pick up and read a chapter and just say, wow, that was just a cool, that's just, I love the way that your mother conveyed this piece
Mhm.
of, of parenting and humanity and love. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really, I've been very, very grateful for the ability to do it.
Well, and I will share that my husband met your mother years ago. He worked in hospitality and was a front desk agent at one of the hotels she stayed at.
Oh,
And he has always said she was an absolute delight and was such a kind woman to meet, and has a signed photograph of her in our home. So
that's
very,
very,
very, very nice to have met her.
that
Um,
was my heart.
Thank you for sharing on the work front. Let's get a little bit more personal. You were born in LA and now are in Westport, Connecticut.
Yes.
What do you like or dislike, or what are the biggest differences you notice about the different sides of the country?
Oof. Wow. Well, I mean, LA is not the side of the country. LA is a place unto its own. I mean, that's just let's
For
be real.
real.
It is just it's its own little floating entity. Growing up in LA was wonderful. It was way before Los Angeles became the place it is now. I mean, I grew up in LA. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. Malibu was an actual artist colony. There were
Hmm.
there were shacks, and I
Yeah.
mean shacks. I don't mean like pretend shacks. There were real shacks, and people who didn't have who had not a lot of income who were living on the
Yeah.
beach. And Beverly Hills wasn't the place it is now. So it was a little bit different, and I loved
Hmm.
growing up in LA. I mean, the weather, what's not to love? My mother
Absolutely.
sent me to French schools. I went to a school called the Lycée Français because she wouldn't let me go to public school. She also wanted me to have a very diverse education, and which
Hmm.
I did. And I'm grateful for that because I see even to this day, having had my children went to school back here, and as wonderful as their education was, mine surpassed it by millions of
Uh-huh.
ways. Being back east, I've learned you have more of an appreciation for the seasons. When you
Hmm.
grow up in LA and every day is a sunny day, it's kind of like, oh, wow,
Right.
it's a sunny day out there, wow. Here, you're like, oh my gosh, look at I feel like the crocuses are starting to blossom and
Hmm.
the smells so that I do love having that appreciation for the different seasons. I happen to love snow. So for me, especially this winter, it's been,
Right.
we've gotten really, really a lot of snow, which has been wonderful. I love that.
Nice.
The East Coast is a little bit, maybe not Westport, Connecticut, but we're really a suburb of New York City because we're just about
Hmm.
an hour outside of New York. So a lot of people who live here work in the city. New York City is New York City. It's real. It's really
Yeah.
Los Angeles is not real. Los Angeles is a backdrop for for
For
Hollywood
real. In many ways.
in many ways. The people, I mean, everything about it. New York is, I don't care who you are or what level of, where you work or where you are on the economic scale. I mean, unless you are stepping out of your apartment and stepping into some fancy car, if you are walking the street in New York, you are living a very different life and you are coming
Absolutely.
face to face with a different way of interacting with people. And I love that.
You already mentioned you were an only child. How do you think that impacted who you've become?
It's funny. I used as an only child growing up, I hated being an only child. All the focus is on you. There's nobody else. There's nobody you can't blame the dog for everything. So I found there were times that being an only child felt very weighty.
Mhm.
But as I'm now a much older human being, I was so incredibly blessed because my mother loved me so much. Sometimes maybe a little too much, but it felt a little smothering. But now,
Hmm.
as I look back, you can't really ever love a child too much. And it's the greatest gift you can give your
I love
child.
that.
So, because of this relationship of just being the two of us, my parents divorced when I was very young. So, it was really just
Mhm.
the two of us. My mother traveled everywhere with me. It was the most amazing way to experience, being a kid and then evolving into an adult with this woman who was so insightful and so uh, I mean beyond words of intelligence and the way that she interacted and taught and the words that her wisdom was amazing. And this is not to say my life was nirvana. We were very much mother and daughter, and believe me, there were lots of times when we were driving down the street and I would hope that the car door would open and she would just fall out. So I mean they're just we were a typical mother-daughter relationship in many ways.
Uh-huh.
But I'm really lucky, as I said earlier, that I knew how much she loved me while she was alive. And she knew how I
Mm,
felt about her while she was
yeah,
alive. So there aren't those regrets of if only I had said this or if only we had done that. We lived our realness together. And that was
nice,
truly, truly a blessing.
nice. You also have mentioned your wife and a mother. What can you tell us about your family life now?
Wow. Well, I have four adult children. We are a
Oh my
blended
goodness.
my husband and I are a blended family.
Gotcha.
We're 25 years blended. My youngest is
Nice.
30. and my oldest is 35. So that should tell you,
Okay.
and there are others, and there's two in there. And we have a grandchild, and she's 17
Congrats.
months. I think there's some interesting, about being, when you raise kids, and the four of them are all raised together. So when you raise children, then you learn, having siblings, you learn a lot of humanness, of connecting with other people,
Uh-huh.
that you can fight, and that you still, that the world didn't come to an end, that maybe you don't necessarily really like that person. And that even though you were born into the same family or you were put together, I
Yeah.
think there's so much that you learn being part of this little nucleus. And then, of course, you look at four kids who've all grown up in the same household and have like four completely different perspectives. It's like, really, did I miss something? Did you grow up like someplace else? So
Right.
it's a really it's interesting. It's cool to be, I'm 64 years old, and it's amazing to look at these adults. My son is 35 years old. It's just like,
Mhm.
oh, how'd that happen? It's just incredible to see these people become their own people. And I know
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
we all say that as parents. My mother said that about me. And I mean, and it's just an interesting thing, learning the things that you don't learn certain things, like I just mentioned earlier, when you're an only child.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been pretty cool.
Very nice. And do they live close by? Do you get to see your granddaughter?
So no, they just moved to Miami. The two boys who are 35, they live in Miami, which is the new place to move, apparently, for young people. Who knew? And the two girls live in Los Angeles. So there you go.
Gotcha.
Nobody lives.
Gotcha. So very bi-coastal and
Yep.
spread out. Well, over the years, I noticed in several of the interviews that I've seen with you, you've touched on this, but your race has been questioned by others over the years. And you mentioned things like people saying, well, wait, you're white and your mother's black, or not being black enough.
Mm-hmm.
What challenges have you faced being a multiracial human?
Well, I need to say, because my mother was famous, I didn't experience a lot of I didn't have difficulty like many people do. So I don't want to make
Hmm.
this sound like, oh, poor me, because that
I
certainly was,
appreciate that.
because people are more impressed with fame than they're worried about their prejudice with someone's colors. I don't care if you're, how racist you are. If LeBron James or Beyonce walked in the room, people would be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, right? That being said, I did not have that issue. What I did have, as I got older, and to a certain extent younger enough, that people would question, like, wait, how did you look like that? Like, how did you come out
Hmm.
looking like this when your mother looks, like that? But what I always felt was really sad was that as I got older and older, and I started to have a voice of my own, and especially with the internet, which makes people very brave when they wouldn't necessarily say things to your face,
Absolutely.
people would literally say to me, you are obviously adopted. Your mother clearly lied to you. There's no way that you could be her biological child. My answer to these people would be like, well, first of all, on what planet do you think a black woman could have adopted a white baby in 1961? No, and even today,
Seriously.
probably couldn't even happen. Second of all, if you look past my blonde hair and my light skin, then you actually will see I do look a lot like my mother.
You do. You really do. I
So
agree.
I think that there is what's, it's just unfortunate that because I don't look like the way that you think I should look, you're going
Yeah.
to deny my
Mhm.
existence. And
Yep.
to me, that's just, first of all, that's very pompous of you, of that person.
Exactly. Yes.
Who gives you the right to say that I'm not who I am? And I was clearly, I mean, I am definitely my mother's biological child, believe me. So it's just, that to me was the reason why, that's how the book came to be, really, because
Ah, okay.
it came to be at a point where I'm just like, okay, we all need to start, let's like talking about this, because it's happening to me because I'm a little bit more in the public eye. It happens to people
Hmm.
all the time. It happened to my mother in the South in the 1930s because she wasn't
Yeah.
black enough, right? She wasn't dark enough, which is like a whole
Wild to
different
me.
thing. And it's just, I
Yeah.
mean, I know we all beat this horse to death, but it is such a waste of energy and time. And there's so many other things we could be fighting over.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, like
It
give me
is.
something else.
And
Let me fight over, you know, some other stupid thing.
yes. Well, what have been the pros and cons of directly or indirectly growing up in the limelight?
So the pros, I mean, you know, I grew up again with a very unique famous person in that my mother understood that, and even though we got to do lots of fun, fancy things, but when my mother would travel the world, and she was very lucky to have been known in so many different countries, she really found that it was very, very important to learn about the country that she was in and their beliefs and their
Mm,
language and their traditions. And so she made sure that I understood that growing up in Beverly Hills, California was not the reality of the world. So we would go to these hotels and places, and she would befriend taxi drivers and staff. And she would say, where do you shop? And where do you buy your food? And let me see what
mm,
your homes look like. And where do you go and worship? And that has, I mean, obviously, as a 9, 10-year-old, it was the most boring thing on the planet because, you know, all I wanted to do was to go to an amusement park or sit and watch television. But as an adult, to think back on how this woman thought about how do I learn and connect with somebody else that's so foreign? You know, so if you're in,
mhm.
you know, in the
Yeah.
depth of Africa, or you're in Asia, or any of these, you know, or Latin America, these countries, or even just Europe, just understanding why people believe in certain things, why they serve certain foods at certain times, and have, you know, or maybe or their way that they dress. And I think that that was truly a blessing. Now, a con is that, you know, all when we lived in Los Angeles, all I wanted to do was to go to Disney World, Disneyland at the time. You know. I couldn't go to Disneyland because my mother couldn't go there because it was just, you know, you know, my mother was really, really famous in the, you know, when I was a
Right.
little kid. And it was just a very difficult thing. So I didn't, you know, that always kind of annoyed me. But, you know, I always,
Uh-huh.
you know, I was like, why can't you just be like an English teacher? And, you know, but obviously
Right, right. I get
so
that.
there's, you know, and there are things that people will say to me, that the expectations that you know, do you sing? Are you musical? Are you following in your mother's footsteps?
Hmm.
I don't think I would have followed in her footsteps, even if I had a voice to sing,
Hmm.
because I think there was a part of me that steered away from that. I'm not sure if I was more
Yeah.
afraid of being of success or of failure. I don't know which it was. It could have been a little bit of both. My
I
daughter is
get that.
following in her footsteps. My daughter is a singer-songwriter. So
Oh,
that's very cool. So I'm going to go from being the daughter of to being the mother of. That's going to be my legacy.
wow. That okay, that's interesting. I didn't think about that, but that's a very cool thing to look at. In terms of us talking about your mother, you lost her to colon cancer several years back,
Mhm.
and you have served on the board of directors for the Colon Cancer Alliance. You went through the battle with your mother as her caregiver, and you have been involved in the cause in various ways. What do
Yeah.
you want people to know?
They need to listen to their bodies. You need to pay attention to the signs. We need to stop eating the garbage that we have been fed, as far as,
Mm,
and I'm talking real garbage, chemicals
yep.
and the soil that's been destroyed, and the food supply that's been the processed foods. And even,
Yes.
I mean, when I was a kid, you would eat whatever, a Twinkie, and it wasn't necessarily healthy, but it was lard and sugar. And, you know, it
Right.
was like things that you knew the words, that you could understand the words. It's
Exactly.
got all of these chemicals that we have accepted and we put into our bodies, and it's really kind of scary. And then we
Mm,
don't listen to our bodies when something's a little bit off. So I think that it's really, really important, and it's easier said than done, because we've got I mean, I'm going to get on the soapbox here. We've got a healthcare system that wants to keep us sick, doesn't want
I
us to
hear
be.
ya. Yeah,
So it's really difficult, but it's really, really important. We are living longer, and we don't want to be longer on drugs, because we don't want to be
absolutely.
kept alive that way. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, my
Yep.
mother passed from a cancer that if it's caught early enough, it is absolutely treatable and beatable. And that was
Yes.
an unfortunate situation, but
Yeah. How old was she when she passed?
81 only.
Yeah.
But she
Yeah.
would have, she said, look, I'm dying from something, whether it be this or
Well,
something.
and that's the thing too. I think, like you mentioned, being in tune with your bodies. I think that when we pause and we actually listen or pay attention to our bodies, it tells us things. And I agree, we need to pay attention. Moving forward, what personal goals or dreams do you still have?
Well, I came out with a perfume this year called Eartha,
Nice.
eau de parfum, and a candle. And I collaborated with a woman, the Harlem Perfume Company, because my mother spent, after she left the South, she came up to New York and she really spent her formative teenage years in Harlem. And I would like to take my mother's lessons and words and wisdom and continue to grow my brand and evolve to accept the fact that I am now me and I've got this legacy that's becoming a part of me. And now I get to develop it and to make it into something my own that will pass on to the people after I'm gone. So
I love that.
I've got a lot left I want to do, and luckily, knock wood, as I sit here at I sit at my mother's desk where
Oh,
she wrote all of her books, yeah, in longhand. And I count my
wow.
blessings. I try to remember to count my blessings every day when I'm not, upset about some
Hmm.
stupid thing.
Yeah. No, some days are easier than others for sure. Well,
Yes.
you mentioned about who you are and being yourself. How would you describe the person you are today?
Wow. I don't take myself too seriously. I am able to, I'm a little, maybe I find the humor in things too much. I'm very sarcastic. I love to laugh. I love to be around other people who love to laugh and who don't take things, who can find the humor in all of I mean, if we can't find the humor in the craziness that's going on in the world right now, then forget it. We're going to
We're in
make
trouble.
ourselves even crazier than we are. And
Yeah.
that's definitely my mother. My mother gave me, she said, humor and laughter is the gift that humans have that the other animals in the animal kingdom don't get to experience. I think people would say that I am inviting and inclusive, and I just love to see other people smile. Unless you're my
Love
husband,
that.
that's probably of torturing him. So you've got to take him out of the equation.
Well, that brings us to the wow segment of our program, the words of wisdom. What
Okay.
words of wisdom, advice, or perhaps kidisms would you like to share with people about being your most authentic self?
My mother had always said to me, God may not be there when you want him, but he's always on time. And the
Mhm.
belief that the things that happen to us, everything happens for a reason. And a lot of times it's not maybe the way we want it to turn out, but there is always a reason for it. The
Yeah.
ability to be able to sort of just sit there and to not react. My mother would say, don't panic. It doesn't change a thing, and it makes it very difficult to see the opportunities or the doors that you're maybe
Yeah.
supposed to turn and walk through instead of, panic just puts us in this moment of
Hmm.
paralysis. And I would also say laugh and smile. A smile is always in style.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you being here today. What socials, contact information, or other info would you like to share so people can find you and or know what's going on with you?
So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok. I'm on at Kitt Shapiro, Kitt, just like my mother's last name, Shapiro. And on Facebook, I am on Kitt Shapiro page because I'm that important. I am out there like all of the other crazies that we've all become. I am on social media doing my thing and hopefully bringing some joy and making people laugh. Hopefully.
Excellent. And where can people find the book?
The book is at simplyeartha.com. If you would like me to sign a copy for you, you can put a little in a note and I will sign it to you and we will ship it right out to you.
Love that. And then what about the store? There's a website for the store as well,
Yeah,
correct?
so my store is called West. It is in the town of Westport, Connecticut, and we are on socials at westport.com.
Excellent. Again, thank you so much for being here, everyone. Kitt Shapiro. My name again is Shane Hodges, licensed professional counselor and author of It's Time to Be You, How to Become Your Most Authentic Self. Thank you all for watching. Be yourselves and have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Shane.
Thanks again to the Transgender Center of the Rockies for being this season's Authenticity Ambassador. We appreciate all the work you do. Check them out at transgendercenteroftherockies.org.